the time we have for today. Oh, hi! You're here early. Sometimes it's good to be early, but our show starts at a specific time. You should remember that. Let's get started then, shall we?
Dylan, I don't give a what you think about the co-host and freshen up my show.
It might not be flashy, but sometimes you just got to toss another person to make a statement.
My show's about the People's Podcast. Everyone has a voice. I don't need a co-host. Go listen to one of the other 5,000 shows with a co-host because they don't have a mouth like the big guy.
Opie, are you a career killer with Tim Sabian, yourself, and many others?
Be myself. Never had real issues with those people. They just understood that I was a different bird. The rest of them, though, I'm like, oh, shut up. I'm paying your salary because the ratings are so good, so shut up.
Right? Live from
Somewhere.
it's
Dylan.
Good whatever to you. Whenever you're watching this episode of Chatting with our guest today from Drive Time with David Collins. David Collins
Right.
and Matt. How are you guys this morning?
Oh, very well. I was just talking with you 2 minutes ago. It's another great morning here. And we're going to have a great morning tomorrow on Drive Time David Collins, 7:30 a.m. Eastern on the Blind Mike Project. Every Wednesday.
Looking forward to Drive Time with David Collins. I'm calling in with my reviews, and tomorrow is a special day for me. I'll have a couple of video game related reviews to plug my new show, the book review of James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd, starting tomorrow. Did you get into James Rolfe at all?
No, not at all. I'm not a big fan of a lot of those older YouTubers. I think I just never really caught on to.
Yeah, I learned about him like 2013, 14. It was when he was working on his movie that I was like, oh, this guy's been around for a long time. Same with the
Right.
Nostalgia Critic. And now here we are a bit late on the train, about 20 years later, starting to do our own type of streaming stuff. I'm doing wacky stuff each day. You've got your own interview show, the 30-minute half-hour show.
There we have David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show, of course, is our interview show. David Collins' 30-minute half-hour reality show is a reality show. We're tracking my stand-up starting in January through the end of this year. Although we've been having some issues getting that back on track, I think we're going to be back on track here in the next couple of weeks with that reality show. And now we're doing Drive Time David Collins, a live call-in show.
I'm wondering, how long have you been in stand-up comedy? Because I stepped in and out. I think I've said this many times, I'd prefer being a writer because of the stand-up grind and how much you have to work your material and find new tags. Have you been stand-up for a while?
Well, I like to joke that I've been doing stand-up since 5 years old around the dinner table.
I see.
But the first time I did stand-up comedy was actually when I was in college, when I was 18 years old. But then I've dabbled throughout the last 10 years there, but I've really only jumped into it and been doing it consistently starting in January.
Kind of like the opposite of me. I jumped in and was really into it, and now dabbling at best is what you could call. So you're up in Iowa doing clubs around there. Do you get out to surrounding areas?
Well, it's actually kind of an interesting area. I bet, if we were a little further west, I guess it might be a little more convenient because we'd be closer to Nebraska and Omaha and places like that. But here in Dubuque and Iowa City and even in Janesville, Wisconsin, because these are all different areas with clubs. Des Moines is very close. Peoria, Illinois is so you're only a few hours away from a lot of opportunity to do stand-up comedy. It also means that you're also like a few hours away from doing any stand-up comedy a lot of the time. So you have to kind of pick, but there's a lot of opportunity in the Quad Cities, a couple hours south of, we're here in Piasta right now. There's no comedy here, but there's sometimes places in Galena or even Rockford, and we're pretty near Chicago also.
Nice. Being close to Chicago is very convenient for that. A few people who I was dabbling in stand-up with back in Baltimore around 2010, 2013, a few of them went over to Chicago. I was in the same circles as Stavros Halkias, so he's definitely become the biggest star of any of us. A few guys from
Tom
Color Me.
Myers.
Say that again.
I guess he was an older generation, though. Tom Myers.
Tom Myers, I actually never met. We
Wow.
have a whole lot of common Facebook friends, but I actually never met Tom Myers while I was on the scene.
Well, one thing about being so close to Chicago is it's not necessarily that because that's such a flooded area, but you're able to ship in a lot of people from Chicago in order to bolster shows here in Eastern Iowa. And that's what a lot of people do in order to get shows kind of going in random areas in Illinois and Chicago and Iowa.
Nice. You get that nice established comic down the road.
Right.
We had a comedy club, Magoobies, in Baltimore. The owner hated my stand-up. Once a month, they had a new comic showcase and had a winner. Then they would compete at the end. I never won. And the host one time told me, I really liked what you were doing. I really pushed for you to get into the finals. But
What are you doing, like a David Cross running around the audience or something? Can I hear one of your jokes?
Let's see. It's been a while, so I'm going to start off with some toilet humor tonight. Folks, have you ever looked into the toilet and thought to yourself, when did I eat blood?
That's fine.
Use that as an opener for a bit. I remember the host.
You didn't like that.
That was, I came up with that in Los Angeles. I remember the host really enjoyed that. Having a hard time pulling a joke from my Maryland days because it has been 2013 that I left there. It's been quite a while since I've done that material. If I was going to focus on stand-up comedy, I do wish I would have stayed in the area of Baltimore. I started putting it together, but Los Angeles, just new vibe, different audience. And
well, in LA, they might have thought it was a gay joke and been pretty offended by it.
That's the thing. I did have some gay jokes that worked out in Baltimore that, yeah, just got absolutely nothing in LA. So I wasn't able to rebuild the pieces. And also, stand-up comedy pays garbage, whereas just some schmuck off the street can at least get paid something to be an actor or a production assistant.
Right. Yeah, or even just sitting in the audience for something in LA.
Yes, that was fun too. Rush calls to be an audience member, and if you pay attention, you can be a fly on the wall, see how that's done. Like the Price is Right celebrity name game with Craig Ferguson. That was a well-oiled machine. My
mother loves Craig Ferguson.
He was been
She
called
loved that skeleton. She would say that he's got a skeleton as a co-host. It's hilarious.
He's one of the last great late night shows. People who have heard, I tapped out of late night a long time ago, but there's a lot of people who really speak the praises of Craig Ferguson.
Right. Well, a lot of older people, you might say. I was just talking with Robbie Goodwin, New York City comedian Robbie Goodwin yesterday, and we were both talking about how much we love Jimmy Fallon, even today. Not a lot of people give him enough respect for being the person that basically invented the Adam Sandler impression that everybody does today.
And he was able to make a career off of being a different type of Adam Sandler. Here in our corner of the internet, we're familiar with Stuttering John. He seemed to try to do the same thing. He didn't exactly pull it off the way Jimmy Fallon did, of being the Adam Sandler-esque.
Well, did John Melendez have any friends at the level of Justin Timberlake? That probably helps.
Friends, associates. He probably met Justin Timberlake all the years he worked on The Tonight Show.
Right. Can you imagine them doing Dick in the Box together? Oh, that wasn't Jimmy Fallon, though, was it?
That was the other guy. That was Sandberg that did Dick in the Box with Justin Timberlake.
Right. A Lonely Island.
Yeah. Also wanted to talk to you about your background in radio.
Right.
In K-Rock in Kansas, was
since
it?
I was 18. I started at Manhattan or Kansas State University, of course. Shout out KSDB. That was our college radio station there. And then in about 2013, while I was working at the radio station and while I was going to college, I started working at KMKF there, 101.5 K-Rock. And I started as a copywriter. And within just about 4 years, I was able to get myself as an on-air personality. And I was doing that for about 5-6 years before my firing.
Was
Which
it
was fine. Just a
was
lot
it
of
budget
pre-recorded
related?
breaks in between, what was going to be music tracks in the afternoon.
And were you let go because of the budget? We're currently in another slaughter of anyone who makes a certain amount of money. We can't afford you anymore in radio.
Well, you hear that a lot. It was a little, it was, the timing was after a bad April Fool's prank, but it could have been for any reason.
Oh, the good old O&A method of a bad April Fool's prank being your demise.
It was a great joke. I'm not sure I don't want to necessarily give it away. I talk about it on episode 3 of David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show. It was my first solo episode, and we play some old radio breaks from the past there. But we talk about my firing on that episode. It started, I set up the joke on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and then I revealed the punchline on April Fool's, and it didn't go the best as well as it could, but everybody knew I'm a big fan of April Fool's. I do an April Fool's prank every year.
That's a long setup. The higher ups don't like that much of a waiting time of months on end for waiting for the payoff.
To keep people on the line. I was trying to keep people. There was some tension. You want to keep people listening.
And that's a good plug for episode 3 of the 30-minute half hour to find out how
people
that...
listen to that. I mean, people don't go back to the beginning there, but I think that's a great solo episode. And we get to hear some old clips of, I was still on the radio.
I would kind of like to get in on the radio, but very much like I talk about us getting into this streaming game when the getting isn't as good as it once was.
Somebody that you talk about often just got back into radio. Am I wrong about this?
Which person?
That Aaron Steeltoe. Is that right? Is that his name?
He's been talking about it for quite a while. Big thanks to Steeltoe Morning Show for helping me get to monetization. People really like goofing on that guy. So I took basically what was a pilot episode and turned it into a regular series. And he's been talking about returning to radio for quite some time.
I see. I thought it was confirmed. I misunderstood.
I am a few days behind. I did have some people in my Discord dropping some I love you references. Apparently his Serenity Now phase, as I call it, has taken a new form where he's telling the chat that he loves him.
Wow.
So I'm looking forward to that from the Clippers.
Everybody grieves in different ways. He's going through a lot right now.
Sounds like it.
He's going to lose his hair soon, I'm sure.
Losing his hair would actually be an upgrade. That is an unfortunate type of hairline that he has.
A lot of people, I think bald's a good look. It's in these days. I would shave my head. I've said this for a long time. I just want to go bald, and I could shave it every day and it'd be in control. But I've been told by people often, everybody's natural response seems to be, if you shaved it, people would be so upset. People are so jealous of your hair. And I say, well, I guess, it's like how you don't throw away food because there's people starving in Africa.
That was actually a Seinfeld episode of why do you shave your head? You have such a beautiful head of hair. And then realizing, oh, he's going bald. He can never actually have that again. Since I have nice hair, I'm going to do something with it.
Right.
Actually, I guess I should do something with it. And what I'm doing here isn't exactly something. It's just letting it do what it will.
Yeah, you're going full the dude. Do you partake?
Do I partake in the dude?
Oh, well, I think that was pretty clear, right?
Yeah, that was pretty clear. The greenery. I do enjoy the flowers. I'm a fan, and I do miss Los Angeles for that, of just going down to the corner store to get my favorite type of flowers.
Certainly. It's pretty new to me, but I've been enjoying it the last few months, maybe even longer now. People, the world of stand-up comedy, it gets a little reckless.
And
I was talking to Hack Ride a handful of weeks ago, and he called me and I said, wow, what a weekend. And I described these people are handing drugs out, and it was whatever the case was. He said, wow, David, I didn't know you partied like that. I said, well, it's stand-up comedy.
It's funny how there are some sects of stand-up comedy that are just completely clean. There was, like in Los Angeles, there isn't a comedy scene. Like there's 6 comedy scenes because it's just so dense and so big. And some of them were filled with recovering addicts. So usually you have an open mic comedy at a bar. Fuck yeah. Even if no one comes, we have got our drunk stand-up comedians to come in. Not with this group. Oh, no, no, no. You are losing your ass on this recovering comedian group coming in for a open mic night.
And that's a good point. That might have been something that we should have focused a little more on the episode 3 of the reality show, and just mentioning that so many of these people might be sober or recovering addicts, because we do try to mention the broad spectrum of people and go through in the episode 3 of David Collins' 30-minute-hour reality show. We go over the broad spectrum of people that are actually showing up to these open mics, where probably 20% of them are really attempting to get on shows or do comedy in any half serious way. And then there's a percentage of people that do it as their therapy or are crazy in their own, maybe a little out of their mind or whatever the case is. But there's a broad spectrum. We didn't really mention the sobriety element.
The therapy type of people, if they can learn to craft a joke, they can be some of the best comics out there. You see Dave Attell, when he talks about his personal life, he's a mess, and he's absolutely fantastic. One of the greats, versus Joe Matarese, who fixed his mind. And we hear these early reports of young Joe Matarese being just phenomenal on the mic, but he got
America's
himself
Got
too
Talent.
well.
He could have been.
Yes.
He could have been famous.
I
He's
forgot
a
about the
household
American.
name. Everybody knows the name. They say, "I've heard that name before."
But most people, Matarese, like that face of an actor that you can't quite face it. Where do I know you from? Where do I know Matarese from?
Well, he's Italian. I showed him to my mother. She said, "Isn't this Sebastian Maniscalco?"
So close.
I was surprised. I said, "That's a pretty good reference, Mom."
I get him confused. There's a Sebastian and Pete Coriel. I think it's there's another Sebastian, and Pete I've seen a few times do stand up. He's got some good stuff.
We saw a great. Do you remember the name was that Nick Fabrizio or something like that? We watched. Delicious was posting this Italian person in New York that's coming to Peoria. Was it Peoria? Someplace in Illinois.
Yeah, I think it was Peoria. I think you're right. Nick something. Cassius or something.
Maybe something like that. But it was an Italian. Yeah, there's so many of these Italians doing Trump impressions now.
That was something, being in Los Angeles when he first got elected, we were just beaten to death with so many Trump things. Going to UCB, the Upright Citizens Brigade, they actually had an open mic sketch comedy that I just saw so many unfunny Trump is an asshole sketches that it's like, you're coming at this from the wrong angle. This is sketch comedy, not sketch fuck this guy.
Well, don't get me wrong. I love a good impression, but there's also something about an Italian man doing a Trump impression. I wasn't a fan.
In the middle of Times Square too. There's got to be like 10 people doing it at the same time.
Right. That's a great point. It was probably riddled with Trump impressions everywhere you go. It's like that DJ sketch from Portlandia. You're just running around and hearing Trump impressions everywhere. And you go and you tell your mother and you say, and then she responds to you doing a Trump impression. You say, no, you too.
Can you tell me where Trump is right now? Can you point to him? One of those things.
Right.
Like I just can't stop
It's
hearing
not
him.
happening, but it's Trump impressions.
It got you too, Mom. I didn't think you would come down with the impressions, but you too.
This would be a great M. Night Shyamalan. What's he doing these days?
Is he disgraced? It seems like he's always on the border of being disgraced. If he would have gotten into like anthology horror movies, I heard at some point he was trying to get Tales from the Crypt up and running again. That would have been perfect for him. 30 minutes in and out. You have a twist. His feature-length twists.
It's a spooky
boy.
show. I remember. I'm still afraid of dryers after that show.
Oh, well,
When the monster came out of the dryer, you guys remember that at all?
that's crazy because the younger generations is probably scared of dryers for completely different reasons.
Yeah, they could be. Yeah.
I'm scared of dryers because they eat my clothes. One day it's going to get the taste for flesh.
Wow. You should go back into stand-up comedy. I love these premises.
I'm starting to write more. I've been kind of easing my way back into writing for like scripts and things. I could. I've got I call it my tight 1 minute. It used to be my opener, but it is silly. It used to be after I was done. I think I've got some more time. and now I just walk off of stage at the 1 minute. People
Wow.
discovering that's all it is. I have fun with that. For a while, I was doing celebrity rants. You've got mini open mics, 5 minutes, and the Christian Bale, "Oh, good for you." If you don't know that one, I've got a couple of clips of that one somewhere. But I would do that entire thing on stage, and seeing the audience discover this is all it is. I really enjoyed that. Here's a clip.
Oh, good for you.
That lasts about 5 minutes, that rant, and perfect for a 5-minute open mic.
Right.
About halfway through, seeing you get people who laugh at it and then stop and then realize, oh, this is all it is, and then another round of laughs start coming in. That it's like, this is the bit, folks.
Certainly. And as long as they trust that it's going to end on time, then there's no concern. That's the biggest thing. You say that when people start thinking in the back of their mind, but if they're able to just enjoy it and then it ends at the right time, then it's a great bit. It sounds like, a lot of those experimental things. I'm thinking of one person, for example, that went dressed as Betty Crocker. The next day he came on with a welding mask, but it would go on for too long.
And that's always a problem with sketch comedy as well, is figuring out that beat of when to get the hell out of there.
Certainly.
You see comics that have done this for years. Louis C.K.'s advice on how to be a good stand-up comedian: be a bad stand-up comedian for 10 years, and then maybe you'll start being good at it. And at that point, like they just make it look so easy because they've found the formula for them.
That would have been a great callback to American Hustle, but we were talking about that off air, I believe.
Yeah, we weren't on air when we started talking about American Hustle.
We did a full show.
A little mini show, a little warm up. And I have very strong feelings because I feel like American Hustle made me sit through a bad movie to get to a good movie. It is a long movie that I basically say, that first shitty movie they made me sit through, totally worth it for this great movie at the end of it.
I need to recheck the records on this, but I remember this, and I believe that I have a theory that was the last good movie before we entered an era of bad movies for about a decade.
Once again, like my stand-up knowledge kind of ends damn near 10 years ago. I have not been up on the newest movies for quite some time. I'm a big film fan, all the way back to the silent movies and the talkies. But the superhero wave. If you're not into the superhero movies, it's been a hard 10 years for you.
What's your favorite type of movie?
I'm not sure. I just like all kind of movies, I guess.
All kinds of movies.
Whatever I'm in the mood for. Not scary movies, though.
Okay, not scary movies.
Not scary movies.
That's like how people say, what kind of music do you like? Anything but country. Some people say anything but scary movies.
Yeah.
That's probably fair. I don't know what my answer would be to that. I like a Serious Man. That's one of my favorite movies, Harold and Maude, but these are kind of comedy movies, but they're a little subtle.
Superbad's my favorite movie of all time.
Superbad's there we go. Judd Apatow.
I say that RoboCop and Pee-wee's Big Adventure
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Two of the most perfect movies in what was the director attempting to do and what got on screen. So those two I really hold up there. Super Troopers and Spaceballs. I had some of the most fun ever watching a movie. Both of those I didn't want to end while I was watching it because those are just fun, and they got out at the right time. I wanted more. So you don't want to overstay your welcome. You want them saying, this was so great, I want more.
And that's pretty, Spaceballs kind of walks the line. It really, any more of that could have gotten old pretty quick. It is a little juvenile.
Absolutely. Mel Brooks' style is pure silliness, and they did probably get out at the exact right time. But as a kid, I was like, I need another hour of this. As an adult, no, that would be bad.
I just heard a great Rick Moranis joke yesterday. I wouldn't want to repeat it, but it's about him getting knocked out in New York City during COVID.
I'm a fan of Rick Moranis. He came out with I think it was a country parody album. I remember the song "I Haven't Been Anywhere, Man," specifically off of that.
Oh, never heard it.
There was a time in the late 90s, I think that came out, and then Joe Pesci had his Vincent LaGuardia Gambino sings the blues just for you. It was the time for high concept comedy albums, the late 90s.
Interesting. Oh, do you know Peter Schlickley?
I'm unfamiliar with Peter Schickley.
He's PDQ Bach. Peter Shinkley, I think, is the PDQ Bach. He's the he won. You know, my mother actually had one of these albums. That's how I knew the name initially. But I heard this. I'm not sure. I think this talk came up on a Blind Mike project one day or wherever it was reminded of it. But he won Best Comedy Album 4 years in a row in the 90s, and nobody knows his name. And he beat out Eddie Murphy, or I think it was who did he beat out there? Andrew Dice Clay. He beat out something else, but he won best, and it was just because it was some insider deals. It's very interesting. But he has some funny comedy albums. He was on Carson once, or Letterman, I believe.
Carson, I love the old, I believe it's Pluto TV that has old Carson episodes, and you can see that they aren't so stuck to the formula that they are currently, where it's just a cookie cutter every single episode of a late night show.
That's fair. But they have so much. I've heard this argument before, and I don't want to be repeating somebody else, but about the pacing, because they probably just have so much more time to fill now because everything moves so quickly. Before, in these old 60s late night shows, they would have like 3 segments, and each one would just drag for 20 minutes, and everybody enjoyed it and was settled for it. But now things have to move. They probably have 15 segments in every late night show.
The crossover of interview guests as well. You don't see that anymore. The first guest would always stay, and there would be a little bit of crosstalk with future guests. Norm Macdonald is the last one I remember staying around after being the first guest to spice up the second guest's appearance.
The Boardroom, what? Spelled B-O-R-E-D? Something like that.
Yeah, chairman of the board. That's a fun clip. You can hear Conan like he doesn't think Norm's going to be that quick. He's just poking at the, I think it's Courtney Thorne Smith,
right,
promoting that Carrot Top movie, and he's just poking her. Conan doesn't think he's going to be that quick. What are you going to do with that? Immediately, B-O-R-E-D.
Classic. Well, it's probably an old street joke. You can talk about a guy that knows a lot of street jokes. I know a ton of street jokes. I could probably fill the next hour with these street jokes, but that wasn't somebody else. He knew longer ones. I know the shorter ones.
The Truly Tasteless joke books is where I got my street jokes.
We have a joke book right here.
Of nice.
This is Jokes and How to Tell Them by Larry Adler.
Oh, different than the Truly Tasteless. Those were filthy. They would have, of course, a Helen Keller section, the dead baby chapter. So Truly Tasteless, indeed. And I was a fan.
Wow. Well, who published that? That must have been pretty controversial back then.
I don't recall the publisher. I remember the first one with a black cover and red lettering, and then they would. It was popular, so they came out with like several per year.
Sounds like something you'd have to put in the back of a magazine or something.
A Mad TV magazine,
right? Special order.
Oh,
do you remember any of those jokes?
What's the difference between a Cadillac and a bag full of dead babies?
I don't have a Cadillac in my garage.
Yep. You're familiar with that old one.
Oh, I knew that joke. We could go back and forth all day. Sometimes I'm not a big fan of, I need to be surprised too, because I do an interview show. You'd think that I would be a bigger fan of doing crowd work, but I get a little nervous doing crowd work. I come up with my material. Sometimes, if something's happening, I can address, I'm happy talking with somebody, but to initiate a conversation is a little strange sometimes. So what I'll do if it's a loud bar show or something like that, and you need a quick joke, instead of crowd work, I'll do a street joke, which I've learned that's a bit of a trick to just get everybody's attention. And sometimes I'll say, "Hey there, everybody. I'm David. I'm 6'3". I have the body of a middle schooler. It's in my trunk if you want to see it."
That's a fun one.
And then I can do my material. Some people like to say, "Oh, what do you do?" They get everybody's attention by calling them out individually, which is, I'm not that charming, I don't think.
I was awful at crowd work. That was something one of my friends was just absolutely great at and could intersperse his material along with that. But yeah, I fucking stunk at crowd work.
We had friend of the show, Tom Garland. We talked about, you're familiar with Tom Garland. He's a master of crowd work. That's what he does. I even asked him, I said, do you do crowd work in your special? He said, of course I do.
I hope his special is better than his documentary abilities. I haven't seen
Tom Garland selling out.
Nice, good for him. His as I reviewed last week on your show, his arcade gamer the movie a bit lacking. So focus on that stand up where you're getting praise, Tom.
Right.
Oof. I
kind of paid. I think he's getting paid more off the stand up comedy than he is any of these documentaries. I'm sure he probably have to pay to get it onto a festival.
Most festivals are that way. Yeah, an entry fee that you have to get into.
Certainly. Well, maybe he gets tickets or something. I'm not really sure how any of that works, but I liked the documentary. I think more people should watch it. I'd like it to be I think it deserves a cult following, to be honest.
Indeed. I'm kind of curious if he has some more. If he has a whole bunch of documentaries similar to that, it would be like a night of watching Neil Breen movies.
He has some interesting shorts that you can find on his IMDb.
Okay. More Tom Garland shorts on IMDb.
You know what I found was interesting when the Blind Mike Geary and Casey Day were talking about Tom Garland. They were pulling up the Instagram and listening to him on the radio from the Instagram. So you can just see Tom Garland has a plethora of different content and areas that you could find him. He strikes me as like a Stephen Gordon character. You know, at joking.com, he threatened to sue me with the fake lawyer and everything. Stephen Gordon is another person with this 30-year internet history that's always strikes me as fascinating. I love these characters that have a long career that deserves some respect, but has never gotten any attention.
We hear about some of those. Brian, shoot, I can't think of his name. Well, I was thinking of comics. There was a Boston comic that started making some TV appearances that I'd never heard of. And a lot of local comedians in Baltimore. Mickey Cucella, when I was on the scene, he was on the radio on 98 Rock. He was like a comedy demigod. And now that he's off the radio, his awareness is very low in the area.
It always is fascinating. Joking.com was this character, Stephen Gordon, and I found this YouTube channel, and it took over my life in 2021, it took over my life for about 3 months. I researched everything about it. I downloaded and watched and took notes on all hundreds of his videos. And then I put together and I found out who he was. I called one of the people that were in his movies. He had all these strange women. It looked like a hostage situation. And I got in contact with one of those actresses. And it's a long time. We have joking.com. It was the first thing I ever really made. So it's not very good quality. I don't even believe I exported it. I think I actually screen recorded the preview because I didn't even know how to export at that time. But joking.com, it's a history of joking.com. It's on the David Collins channel there. Jerry convinced me to put it up this year, but it was made in 2021.
Those early projects, I understand being trepidatious about putting them up. I've got a sitcom pilot I made back in Maryland, and the writing isn't bad the last time I checked it out, but technically the lighting and just what we did with the camera, it's like we're not winning any festivals with this camera work and this lighting.
And sound, if anybody's sensitive to the sound and transition things, it can ruin a whole project for me, at least.
Yeah, if it's...
Speaking of Tom Garland, no offense to him, but it sounds very difficult.
So how long has it been since you were on radio? You said you got fired?
2022. So early in the year there. So it's been a couple of years, and it's hard to even think about. You know, you move to a different area. I moved up to Iowa pretty quickly after that to spend more time with my mother. And you move to an area, you meet people, you be doing a new thing for a couple of years. It's almost hard to remember even what your routine was at that time. But I'm living a whole completely different life these days, and we're just focused on the shows that we're trying to produce and really trying to pick it up this month and the next into the end of Q4 here.
And you are starting to get some momentum on your channel. Blind Mike and Casey Day is how I first heard of you.
He does a lot of Hack Ride Studios does a lot. They're very gracious to the way they give us attention on their shows and things. and we really appreciate that. And yeah, he spread the word a lot. And plus, this month speaking of momentum, we've had some great guests: Doug Townsend, Ray DeVito, Tom Myers, Tom Garland, Robbie Goodwin is going to be coming out this week. These are quality guests, in my opinion.
Looking forward to the Robbie Goodwin episode. I can't believe I haven't checked out the Ray DeVito episode yet.
Really?
But because I do recall the 30-minute half hour where the guest was yourself. That set that up very well. I'm gonna have to watch that episode.
Oh, perfect. Right. We do have, that's episode number 44, where we talk about, that was also right after Floodwater, which is a Floodwater comedy festival. So we have a compilation of those street interviews on that episode. And then we spend another about 8 minutes just breaking down a little controversy we were having at that time with Ray DeVito. And eventually, months later, we were able to settle that in person with him, which is very exciting.
Before we get too far away from Hack Ride, I do have to give a thanks as well. When he finds someone he likes, like you and myself, he is trying to help lift us up. So
Billy McNeely.
Yes, Billy McNeely. You introduced it.
Hack Ride really spread the word, though, and that's somebody else Hack Ride wants to elevate.
Billy is definitely a unique fellow. He could use some from his yoga episode that I covered. He could use a little help, but he's doing it his own way. He's very confident, and he's doing his self-defense and exercise tutorials his own way.
He's an innovator in many fields.
And I do enjoy the one-offs I have of covering people like Billy McNeely and those. Do you have anyone else that you're hiding from us?
We talk about some people on the reality show. You can write this down. Pirate Stew's joke of the day. That's a pretty good one. I'm not sure if you caught that on our Drive Time David Collins last week. And also Stephanie Bree, I think, has a lot to offer with her shorts.
Nice. I will have to check some of them out.
YouTube's an interesting place. Once you develop an algorithm of this type, YouTube does not distinguish videos with less than 100 views between this is a podcast, this is video games, this is a vlog, this is a sketch or a comedy or whatever. The videos with less than 100 views just seem to be in its own kind of category in the YouTube algorithm. So once you start getting those, you get a wide variety of videos with less than 100 views, and you just have to curate your algorithm to kind of get that. It's very fun though, and then you just get a wide variety of people that you never would have seen.
Yeah, that's what I've got to start researching again. I came across quite a few people earlier this year, and my algorithm, I guess I've been watching too many popular videos. I haven't seen new people in a while. The virgins online, there's two I covered. One virgin at 41. Boring as hell. King Nobody, I really enjoy. He wants to be a stand-up, but he has not put the pieces together quite yet. He's like doing stand-up bits for the camera here on YouTube, and I don't think he's practicing these in front of people. There's, a certain cringe factor to like, I see what you're trying to do, but get in front of people, you might improve.
Yeah, or do it on TikTok, and then you get a quicker reaction. You're putting it on YouTube, you get 4 people that tell you, who knows what they'll tell you. It's very strange. You know what? Another thing that you can do is say you're looking for those virgins. You type that into the search bar on YouTube, and then you go to upload date, and you look at the last week, and then you just get the most recent of those things. Oh, these days you kind of have to do the thing you do on Google where you go minus Indian or something like that, because you get a lot of foreign things these days. Actually, they're taking over the algorithm, but you could do that with the upload date. And then you get.
I've heard that strategy. Right. Lucy Tightbox of Who Are These Podcasts has the same strategy. I don't know why I haven't done that yet. Of look by upload date.
Is that right? I think that must be a popular thing. I thought I came up with that, but I guess it's like, I thought I came up with. I remember being 4 years old, and my father at the time, he said, do you need to go number 1 or number 2? And I said, I thought I invented that too. And I thought I was a genius. I invented that, but other people had thought of that too. I guess I was 4 years old. I thought I was smarter than I was. Most 4-year-olds, I think, do.
One of the first jokes I came up with myself that I heard a comedian say, Greg Giraldo, at a roast, said a joke that I thought I came up with, but it's obvious enough of you look like you peered inside of the Ark of the Covenant from Raiders of the Lost Ark, to talk about a
Right.
very old, ugly face. What was another one? I was working on a bit of the wacky things I say in my car by myself. And before I ever did it on stage, I hear Patton Oswalt has already refined it and put it on CD. So, dang it. Can't do that bit.
You sound like you came up with some pretty unique things, too. It's kind of odd that anybody else would have thought of it first.
And
Have you ever
Patton
had
does
any
it
of that
very
parallel
good.
thinking?
Oh, a few times, I think. I always think they're listening to you, right? You think that, Dylan?
I was in Los Angeles at the time, so Patton might have had his ear on the beat and really gotten that bit to press before I could. That son of a bitch.
Wow. How tall are you?
5'8".
Okay. Well, I was just thinking about him and standing next to Patton Oswalt. I just want to know who can take who.
I did meet him in person once. He's a short little fella.
Right.
So even being a not tall fella myself, I got him with the reach and the height.
Well, 5'8's the average male in Asia, I think. I think 5'6 the average woman and 5'8's the average male.
I got my money on Dylan.
All right. Plus, he's older. The only person that Patton Oswalt could take out was his first wife. I don't think he could get me down.
No, and if he did, I feel like you'd bounce. I don't want to rhyme down and clown here, but you just try. I bet if you got hit, you just hit the ground and pop back up like a clown.
It's like one of those clown punching bags,
Right.
that I'll just rise right back up.
Inflatable feet.
They do
I should have
help.
brought my clown shoes. That would have been good.
So that's definitely a problem of the parallel thinking. There's been multiple stand-ups that have said, once you come up with a joke, rewrite it. Your first punchline may be a bit too obvious. So that's something I experienced a few times while trying to write stand-up, is
Right.
that I've got this great idea. Son of a bitch, someone more talented with a record deal got to it first.
Certainly.
I say the same thing about tattoos too. Got a lot of tattoos, and whatever tattoo you want first, throw it out. It's dumb. You'll never like it.
Oh,
I regret my first tattoos.
it's interesting. They teach you the opposite when you're taking a test.
Yeah, go with your gut, right?
Right. You go with your first instinct. You were right the first time. You don't want to second guess yourself. But these other aspects of life, you got to think otherwise.
Sometimes you do second guess yourself. My first tattoo, also regrettable, Matt. It's an Asian symbol, because that was the style of the time. I was on senior week in Cancun, Mexico, so it had to be done. It's a permanent scar on my body to be
Wow.
like, oh yes, I went to Cancun, Mexico, instead of Ocean City, Maryland, like most of my graduating class.
That's my first tattoo. Is a bunch of Chinese characters.
Oh.
Everybody always asks you, "Oh,
Were
they
you a
mean what
fan
you
of
know?"
Chinese sitcoms or something like that?
No, I was just young
What were
and
the
impressionable.
characters from?
Oh, not anime.
I'm a big fan of American sitcoms. Oh, but an anime.
No. It was like Chinese lettering.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool.
Translates to like the Batman 60s. Bamf. Woof.
Yeah, right.
Right. I just got my first tattoo recently. I have a big 3 on my back.
A big old 3. What's that represent?
Season 3 of David Collins' 30-minute-and-a-half-hour show.
Oh, nice. Are you going to get it crossed out and a 4 put on you for the season 4?
No, but maybe once we get up to 6 or something like that.
Okay, not every
You can get an
season,
8 pretty easy.
but maybe
Yeah,
like
or
3,
8.
6, 9, 12.
An
You'll
8.
get it lasered off and a whole new tattoo.
Well, you could turn it into the other things. The 8, and then eventually I could do 88 if we did that many seasons.
88
Okay.
seasons. Can you imagine?
Wow.
There have been
You're a little
88
old.
seasons of anything.
It also could
Days of Our
repre-
Lives.
You know what's kind of ironic? I didn't even think about this. I got the 3 on my back, and then Jerry stole the 3 from our show. Well, he could have just used the 3 on my back.
Could have.
Would have been a very personal 3 to replace the stolen 3.
Right. Yeah, but then we would have, we don't want to. It's bad for the accounting of the three, I guess.
Thank goodness it wasn't the same fugitive that took the money from O&A. That guy was nefarious.
Oh, did that happen? That's an old. Not a lot of people know that. I mean, a lot of people might. The $10,000 or $5,000. Now I think it might be. It depends. I've never actually heard it in this since I've been in the last couple of years up on the radio here. But it used to be an old radio bit where there was a fugitive that would steal money from the station and then give clues, and you'd have to find them around town.
You would think that the price has gone up. It used to be the $5,000, $10,000, but now nowadays it's the $200 fugitive that they have on radio. They can't afford the $10,000 fugitive.
Well, it's probably easier for the fugitive if it's not a felony. It's just whatever
crimes,
gross misdemeanor theft.
Yeah, the fugitives are getting more intelligent. It was one year of Jocktober where Opie and Anthony did it every single day. Sam Roberts pulled the fugitive bit every single day.
Wow.
So
that's
that
exhausting.
year, you can hear Opie and Anthony get very upset. Not this again. Fuck you,
And
Sam.
at least these days, there's a wide range of AI voices. There was only one or two voices back then.
They used the old scrambler. The fugitive voice was like the ransom voice. We have your three. Come to the KFC, and if you find me, you can have it.
Right. I don't think it was that. We try to. I think the Gas Cap Criminal does a good job of sending in pretty clever riddles. I think it's pretty rare that somebody actually solves it. You tried to solve it once, but you were on the team, so you're disqualified from.
Yeah, I tried to. It was
sending
too
it in.
good. Yeah.
I think you and Dan kind of came up with it together eventually, but it was like it was 10 minutes of Dan and Matt trying to solve this riddle.
I'm not a fan of riddles too, so it was very difficult.
What do you have to say about riddles? You usually have a whole thing about riddles?
Yeah, I just don't like riddles. Do you like riddles, Dylan?
I'm not as good as I'm not particularly good at riddles.
I like riddling.
I just don't like riddles when somebody just asks you a riddle, tells you a riddle, and now you just feel dumb for the next 10 minutes until they tell you the answer.
Like, how far can you run into the woods, into the forest?
Or like, what do you got to break to use? You're thinking to yourself, oh man, I don't know. Then you think chem lights, right? Chem lights, got to break them to use them? Nope, the answer is an egg.
Aha.
And so I don't know if you're really using eggs or eating them. And
I can't even listen that fast. I need a riddle written down too. I can't. How did people solve with the old adage where you'd have to solve a riddle to cross a bridge? They say, could you write that down for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, riddles have got me too. If I was Batman, the Riddler would kick my ass. Even in the Batman Forever movie, where they made them simple enough for us kids to solve. I didn't solve a one.
I was trying to think of you just remind me of that story I was reading yesterday about the Rizzler, and his name being Christian, when you said the Riddler. I was trying to think of a pun, but I couldn't. I was just distracted by thinking of Christian.
I've got a drop just for that. When you've got a joke coming up and it doesn't quite make it.
Where's the joke? Sir, we're on the air. I know we're on the air, but where's the joke?
Right.
Thank you, Duke Phillips. I've just got to shine a flashlight. I've just got to shine a flashlight on my failures. Why brush it away? People will try to expose you.
I like we do the same thing. You have Krusty the Krab behind you. Is that right? Is that his name?
Krusty the Clown from the Halloween episode parodying the Twilight Zone. He's got even got a switch on him from good to evil.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty cool thing. We do on the radio show. I've been putting a picture of Craig right in that same spot right next to me. It's nice to have somebody within arm's reach.
Craigers.
It's great. I put a silly hat on him. And the first time he saw it, he called me right after. He said, thanks for the silly hat.
Does he want the silly hats sent to him? Like sometimes you might give him a hat that he looks particularly good on him. And he's like, I want that hat. Send it this way.
Oh, right. Maybe I should make it, because I put it all together. It's one image, but maybe I should make it where he's not wearing a hat, and then I get other hats and I can put it on different hats on him during the show. Although we want to keep it mostly in audio format, but the visual elements are certainly fun.
It's like a gauge on how he's feeling, what kind of hat he's wearing.
Right. Yeah, it's like a mood ring.
Oop, I did not put my phone on silent. Excuse me one moment.
Oh, we can't even hear it. That's all right. Drive Time David Collins, 7:30 a.m. Eastern on the Blind Mike Project channel. We're really looking forward to this Wednesday, tomorrow's episode. We're bringing in Todd Basinger as our third mic, and I'm not sure we'll tease this already. Next week, we'll have Austin Ingalls in the room live with us here, back from Austin, Texas, to report on some things from Austin, Texas, and talk a little bit with it. Maybe we'll bring some. Maybe then we'll finally talk about that Kill Tony story that we've been putting off for weeks and weeks.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
I think there's a lot of new Kill Tony news too coming out. So maybe that Austin Ingalls will be I usually don't care at all about that Tony Hinchcliffe fella, but I think Austin Ingalls coming from Austin, Texas, it might be kind of a good way to talk about that scene and maybe bring some of the more topical events going on there. But whatever the case is there. And this week we have Todd Basinger, local Dubuque legend. We're really looking forward to having him on the third mic tomorrow morning.
Looking forward to hearing that tomorrow on Drive Time with David Collins. And Austin absolutely has become the new hotbed of stand-up comedy, as Joe Rogan was hoping he could do with the mothership there. Kill Tony, it's like a star maker, the Kill Tony program.
Yeah, but they immediately start as the big red ones that are going to explode any second and disappear.
The ones that won't be there for too long. The ones about to go supernova.
On our Patreon, you can find Dr. Brian King. He's a touring comedian from where was he? He was from Antonio, maybe? Someplace near Texas, a couple hours away from Austin. In Texas, a couple hours away from Austin, one of the bigger places, maybe Houston or wherever the place is. But he was
Everything is hours away in Texas. Nothing's close.
Right. Well, he seemed close. It only seemed like 2 or 3 hours, but from Austin. But he had said how much he hated Austin. He was touring and he stopped in an open mic in East Dubuque, and it was very fun to meet him, Dr. Brian King. And you can find that on our Patreon. We have some behind the scenes footage of the reality show, including Dr. Brian King doing 2 minutes on how much he hates Austin and telling Austin that he's not going to be happy there.
That's a fun concept.
David Collins, 3.5 hour show, Patreon. We have some great behind the scene footage all over that reality show, and we really don't promote it enough. I also have a bunch of extra clips there. There's some sketches and things that you'll never see anywhere else. A lot of exclusive content on that Patreon.
So check out the 30-minute half-hour Patreon for some of that shitting on Austin and some of those extra clips.
Hundreds of
Bill
videos.
Burr.
Hundreds and hundreds of videos.
Okay, it is fully stocked. My members only has a few videos currently, as I put a few up, but the 30-minute half hour has a buttload of videos.
And we catalog it in that collections area, so it's a little easier to kind of find what you're looking for. You've seen some of that. Did I show you? I think I showed you with the most recent dump.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of
it's a lot.
Quite a bit of content.
I have like 500 gigs on this computer. I mean, it's constantly cycling. The reality show is probably totaling like 600 gigabytes at this point in terms of all the footage and everything. That it's a lot of things to store and back up and things, and then I just put it on the Patreon before I try to get it in storage.
Really keeps you in your best behavior too when you're around you.
Oh,
you never know when there's cameras going to be on.
Well, that's another thing
Even
too.
If he's not there, there's camera.
Luckily, I'm kind of in charge of what makes it to the show, but it is fair that I have to review things before it goes on the Patreon because you never know what I've said.
Yeah.
But sometimes we put it on there anyway, a little tease.
Going off on Austin does remind me of Bill Burr. That's what really got him to blow up back in the day, was when he went off on Boston being a shitty city in front of a rowdy crowd.
Maybe I should make that
Philadelphia, wasn't
it? It was Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
I'm sorry.
It was Philadelphia. Oh, good correction. Right. It was Philadelphia. It was 2010, I believe, during the virus tour. 2009, the Opie and Anthony virus tour. He was very upset because the crowd had just booed Dom Irrera off a stage. And he said, Dom Irrera is one of the funniest people in here. And he walked out and he tiraded. And the whole time he's saying, I got 9 minutes left. And he keeps yelling at the audience. And it was a big deal for him. Now he's doing SNL after the election. It's a big jump.
I do love when comedians do their time, but decide like Gilbert Gottfried would read the newspaper at times when audiences weren't into him, and I've got 45 minutes contractually. We're gonna be here for 20 more, folks.
Fill that time. That's right. Maybe we should make that Dr. Brian King video, him talking about Austin public, and it would be like his Bill Burr moment. We could get him selling more tickets around the country. He's a very funny comedian.
People really enjoy that shitting. Well, that's why the roast battles got so big. People just enjoy the shitting on things.
We had Robbie Goodwin on the show yesterday. We have that recording. It's going to come out sometime this week, hopefully today, maybe if we're lucky, before the radio show. But he had talked about he had actually done a roast battle with Tom Myers about 5 years ago at the Stand. Isn't that interesting? You can find Robbie Goodwin roast battling Tom Myers on those old roast battles at the Stand.
That's something I want to see for sure.
It's fascinating. I said, wow, what a connection.
Yeah, I wish I would have gotten familiar with Tom when I was in the area, because I am fascinated by his comedy.
He's charming. Anybody that meets him says he's very nice, and I think Robbie Goodwin, I had talked a little about this, and Robbie Goodwin said, yeah, we interviewed Tom Myers a year ago or something like that, and our audience liked him. He was a very charming guy. So I forgot we had the same impression.
I was thinking earlier of the talking of radio. Larry the Cable Guy actually came on 98 Rock Baltimore, and I was familiar with him years before he absolutely blew up. And you just don't. It's hard to get fame like that anymore. You can't just be the guy that calls up on the radio and get movies. Ernest started as a pitchman and got movies. I just find it fascinating, all these different paths to getting success that
Larry
aren't
the Cable
viable
Guy
anymore. Larry the Cable Guy is calling up with his commentaries. What the hell is this, Russia? I don't think that can be done anymore. Of just calling up to radio shows and gaining popularity that way.
Well, nobody's listening, but you could probably do that with various podcasts, I'm sure, if they were big enough to be taking call-ins. I'm not sure what the biggest call-in show are, but maybe sending in a regular voicemail to David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show gives us an opportunity to get something, and if other shows are doing that and taking calls, then people are just hearing your name. It's about the rule of sixes. Talk a lot about the rule of sixes. We've talked about the rule of sixes, Dylan.
Yes,
I was trying to explain this to Ray DeVito when I was on his show also. The rule of sixes is just about being seen 6 times in different contexts. Then eventually people say, oh, maybe I will finally check this person out.
And that does help. It's like some of the people on Who Are These Podcasts, I'll be like, oh, they had a good episode. But yeah, the rule of one usually doesn't have me going to see them, but seeing them a bunch of different places it does get that done. The call-in show, yeah, we don't have a whole lot of those in podcasting. Our friend Tukey, B Dabbler, he does a call-in show, but yeah, you're doing a format that isn't seen as much in podcasting with the call-ins, and kind of like the FU line from Opie and Anthony, leave a voicemail. And
I'm not sure.
Whatever's on the line.
What's the joke of an FU line? Is that like a take on a happy birthday? Could you say happy birthday instead? Could you say, this guy, my boss,
their voicemail line,
there's an FU line.
But since it's the crude Opie and Anthony show, it's the FU line, and they encourage you to bitch about what's on your mind and give a big FU.
I like this bit. They used to do this on the radio sometimes, where they have someone call in and you say, all right, you have 10 seconds to say what's bothering you today. And then after that 10 seconds is off your chest and you have to smile. I like that bit.
I recall that one. Opie and Anthony did not. That was part of their Jocktobering. They weren't a fan of the smile at the end.
I still hear Bob and Sherry do that. I listen to Bob and Sherry almost every morning because it's a national show. They play it on a local station here too. Bob and Sherry in the morning. And Sherry does most of the talking these days. I think Bob's pretty tired, unfortunately. But, I listen to them. They do that bit sometimes.
I was actually just thinking of the John Tesh radio show. That used to be like the most inoffensive show that was just absolutely everywhere in syndication. I think he hung it up. I haven't heard him on the radio, or maybe I just don't listen to the radio like I used to.
Well, it's kind of interesting. You find that when I'm driving, when I'm on a long drive, I don't really like to listen to the music. Anytime it goes to the music, I go for the next channel. I'm just listening for the radio breaks. I like to hear the people talking.
I enjoy, getting the local flavor. Moving to Los Angeles and not having cable TV or anything, I was like, okay, I need to listen to the radio to get the some sort of local flavor and know what's going on in the area.
Right. Certainly.
Also information. There was something called Carmageddon, where they shut down one of the 2 major north-south highways. and my friend would never ever listen to the radio. So we all laughed at him when a friend was having a party, and it's like, where's Dave? He's in Carmageddon. You could not miss it.
He
Except
didn't
if
want to
you-
hear the music.
Yeah, he
There are
wanted
some
to
people
hear.
like that. I've heard that before. I used to have a friend that said, I don't like listening to music. I don't like the way that it affects my mood.
It's certain genres, like working in a restaurant. When I was in a kitchen and a guy wanted to put on death metal, I'm like, no, I am going to be in a
Right.
shitty mood if I'm here doing kitchen work with anal cunt blaring in my ear.
Wow. Is that really the style? You know, have you heard of Anal Cunt?
I have not.
I have a joke in my, I tried, it never worked out, but it's a joke about how, you know, I don't like how you, I haven't told this in 6 months. I think I tried it like twice and it didn't go anywhere. And usually I don't really go this vulgar either, but it's the name of the band. It's a proper noun. So it didn't feel too out of place. But you would say something about how I don't like how companies still drug tests. I think drug tests are unconstitutional. It'd be like if you got a job and you say, we really want to hire you, but now first we're going to have to go to your apartment and see what kind of posters you have on your wall. We're going to have to do a poster check. And then you have to explain to your boss why you have a framed poster of Anal Cunt on your wall. But it didn't I don't think people really got the reference too. So it's not even the best joke, but it's probably, but it's a little shock value, but people don't even know the reference. So it doesn't really hit.
Yeah, I'm aware of them. I would have been laughing along.
They have a funny
some-
song called "Hitler Was a Sensitive Man." I think they're tongue in cheek.
I believe so. Very much like the Bloodhound Gang. The lap dance is better when the stripper is crying. Very wacky, silly song.
Certainly. Well, that's probably a generational thing too.
Well, I think every generation likes it when the stripper is crying. That might just be me and Bloodhound Gang, though.
I've never been with a stripper. I'm not sure.
Well,
Maybe I would have to compare, I guess. I have trouble believing it, but to each, what do they say? Win in Rome?
Do as the Romans.
Do as the Romans.
For me, it was when in West Virginia.
That mean I need a male stripper? I'm sorry.
Maryland wasn't fully nude. West Virginia was. So for us, it was when in West Virginia. Go to the strip club. Because they don't have pasties and they don't have to keep their panties on.
Tom Myers kind of divulged how big of a fan he was of strip clubs when we had him on the show, because he had mentioned how, we had this Tom Garland I ran into, which was so funny too. I'd seen him so many times in person leading up to the interview that he really should have not gotten so upset. But Tom Garland, I had talked about, I said, we're going to have Tom Myers on the show. And he said, oh, we used to work together in Las Vegas a couple of times. Tom Garland said, I think I brought Tom Myers to his first strip club. Because he had this story about Tom Myers' face and this woman and all these things. And then we asked Tom Myers about it. He said, maybe my first strip club that night. So he must be a big strip club guy. Maybe, does he go to West Virginia, do you think?
He's got a punch card somewhere.
If I were him, I would be wandering over to West Virginia because those Baltimore clubs, they got nothing on the wagon wheel.
Wow. A punch card. Where do you think you put that?
I don't know. What do you think they punch it with?
He probably get a special. That would be a great idea. If I owned a strip club, I'd give people punch cards, but it'd be in the form of a tie. So then they pull the tie and they punch it, and it's kind of, people like that, right?
I was thinking quite lewd with the punch card, where you punch it with your erection. Once we started going down that.
The woman punches the man's punch card, or the man punches the man punch card.
Would that be a stamp almost?
A stamp of approval, that erection.
Right. I wouldn't want to see the way that she might stamp.
Yeah. Ugh.
Wow. Probably illegal in West Virginia.
She's got a very unique adhesive on her stamp.
Right. Well, I guess we're getting to the second hour. This is when things get this is the later half.
This is when the real us comes out.
It's like the British channels when everything goes, and then they show tits and all those, start using vulgarity.
The British shows that show boobs, I enjoyed those imports when I was a kid.
That's the word I was looking for. Wow, I really went all in there.
They would forget to censor them out. I remember seeing boobs on TNT in the afternoon one time. I had my friend who said he saw boobs on Benny Hill once. I don't know if Benny Hill actually showed boobs because they were always jokes about things that looked like boobs, like
That sounds like a
cantaloupe
fan
with
edit.
with a cherry in front of it.
Right. Certainly. Well, you do a pretty vulgar show a lot of the time. Is that correct?
That's where my humor has been veering, is into the vulgar category, very sexual and very vulgar. Hasn't been very kid-friendly for a bit, my humor.
I forget those are Polaroids behind you too, but it does look like tile, which means that, you kind of fit an area that you would have to wash out a lot.
It does look like a gangbang room, you're saying, because of the tiles.
Or a shower.
That can be a multi-purpose shower. That can be. It makes sense to do the sexual activity with multiple people in a shower. It don't have to be a big shower though.
Right. Well, that's what it looks like. Anyway, what does your bathroom look like?
It's pretty standard. A sink, not the British style. They actually have a much better style in the UK, where you have the wash closet with the sink and your toothbrush, and then another room with the toilet.
Interesting.
Where we just have the shit plume. Whenever I see someone with a house, I'm like, oh, this is British style, where the toilet is its own room, as it really
Isn't that
should be.
And then you have to touch the doorknob. What's the deal with that? Nobody really thought like those were invented before germ theory, I suppose. Even my bathroom, though, was invented. I have a small one of the places that I stay at pretty regularly is a very, very small area, but in the bathroom is very old. But even that's all in the same room. Unfortunately, it's not old enough to have one of those cool chains. I only get the negative parts of it being in an old place. But it's not there. I don't shower there too often, I guess.
You say that old chain, it makes me think there's a gun behind the toilet because of The Godfather. That's where my mind
Right.
immediately goes with the old pull chain flush.
I just keep it right here next to me.
Well, that's got to get stinky, keeping it right there next to you.
Oh, not the chain. Anyway, that's an interesting. Maybe I should write that down. Do you think that'd be a good question asking a guest about their bathrooms?
Yeah, to have them do a little mini cribs episode during the episode.
Certainly. Some people record it on their phones. If anybody's on their phone, I should ask for a tour.
Yeah.
That would be a good idea. Chris Scopo, famously, on our last year's Christmas episode, was on his phone. He went to 3 different rooms and took naps, basically, in 3 different rooms as he was doing the show.
I'd love to see Robbie Goodwin's house. It was like a mansion.
Right. That was interesting. He had this big room behind him. I said, where are you filming? Shane Gillis's house? I wasn't that quick. I didn't ask him that, but we asked him a little bit.
We'll put those notes in the radio show, though. What we were going to ask.
Right.
It's a new little segment.
The old, I thought of a great punchline later that day. Happens to me quite a bit as well. Oh boy, that would have been funny if I would have thought about it 7 hours earlier.
Right. People would have laughed.
But luckily, I've got Duke Phillips on my board for when I don't, to ask, where's the joke?
Oh, I thought you were going to play. That was a big misunderstanding, too. Yesterday, I kept asking Robbie Goodwin, are you ready to play? And then he just wouldn't respond because he thought he was waiting for round 1. And then it would just be this awkward pause where I'm like, did he hear me? And be like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to. Yeah, I'm waiting for I said, are you ready? But he was very patient, which is fine. I think he was worried. I think he was concerned. He told us right at the beginning, he said, I watched that Tom Garland episode and I'm kind of worried that you guys are just going to mess with me or something along those lines. I said, no, it's about the show and things, but Tom Garland took it very strangely. I don't know why I keep bringing it up. It was such a unique circumstance, and I don't like those negative interactions. We've never had one before. It's always very positive. People enjoy being on the show. Not sure what happened there, but I've kind of gotten over it.
I do understand, like, he didn't take well to the punchline game, but he seemed to get very upset over that.
Right. Apparently, only from what I've heard. Maybe it travels third hand. It's a bad game of telephone, but I can't reach him. He's blocked my phone number.
So that's all you can do is the bad game of telephone. The real game of telephone, he cut you right off.
We've decided, and I guess since this is coming out after, but we did say on our last episode yesterday that everything is soothed over. I don't think there are any hard feelings.
Good.
Still won't see him November 30th, but that's okay.
We could November 30th. It gets completely smoothed over, or it gets bruised up again.
Right. Well, we wouldn't want that. I carry a knife.
That's good. I should do that because I only carry my fists, and they haven't proven to be particularly good weapons.
No, this coat puts my arms asleep, so I can't be ready to throw hands. I just have to be ready to, defend myself if I'm on the ground. I can't lift my arms in this thing. That's what I've been doing. It's cutting off my circulation.
I guess we kind of have the same problem with our broadcasting jacket. I bought a lot of my jackets when I was a little less chubby. The movement on some of my jackets also
What are you saying?
a little bit of a problem. I'm saying I'm about 20 pounds too damn fat.
Right. Well, I
And
weigh
my
myself
clothes
every
show
week.
it.
And I was like, maybe I'm a little big this weekend. Didn't eat a lot. Yesterday, I probably had about 1,500 calories of nachos in one sitting.
That's a Beavis and Butthead amount of nachos.
It was a large amount. It was chorizo. I go there every week to this Adobos. I think they need more Adobos, but I go to the same one every one, and they know me. I'm a big regular, and I tip them too, so they appreciate it. But they always really give me a lot of food, and I very much enjoy it.
I'm a fan
I eat the
of,
whole thing.
Yeah, I'm a fan of free stuff. Free food tastes even better than food you pay for.
Right. Especially Mexican food.
Mexican food, the more disgusting it looks, the better it is.
Right. Well, the best is that, they really treat me well because I get chorizo. They drain the grease pretty well for me. They take their time. I appreciate that because otherwise you get to the bottom and you get this pool of grease and it really turns you off.
It's
I could talk about Mexican food all day.
My brother takes for a pizza. He takes a paper towel over the grease. So
That's an old, what's that guy's name? He made a video game for many, many years. Do you remember this? But he famously taught everybody that because he was gaining some weight, but he only ate pizza every single day as he was making this video game. And maybe somebody in your chat can help here. But he had talked about how he treated his life like a video game with different stats and things like that. And one of his ways to lose weight, because all he ate was pizza, is that he would towel off because he said when fat gets hot, it turns to liquid. So if you put the towels on it while the pizza is still hot, you're soaking up a lot of that fat. And then you can just eat the pizza and enjoy it, but you've eliminated a lot of the fat already from the pizza, so you don't have to gain so much weight as you eat it, and you just get the important stuff.
But unfortunately, all he eats is pizza, so need to counterbalance that.
There's a famous jiu-jitsu player that all he eats is pizza.
Yandere Dev. Is that the guy with the pizza grease?
He makes his own. He does it every day, and it's a 3,000 calorie pizza, and he eats one meal a day.
I do love my hipster pizzas around here. The hipsters getting all chefy with the pizzas. I'm a big fan.
Right. I like pizza. I always put them on the top of each other. Make a pizza sandwich.
Pizza Hut, I swear they put some type of drugs in there. I am never craving a Pizza Hut pizza, but when I eat the first slice, I must eat everything. Don't know what drugs are in there, but it's definitely something that once I get it, I need more.
Certainly. Well, I haven't gotten a Pizza Hut pizza in a while. Sometimes I get if you call them and you ask for what is it called? It's the $7 meal deal or something like that. You can get a pasta, or I think you have to order two, but you get pastas for $7 each. And it's huge, like 50 cents a calorie, or 50 cents every 100 calories.
They better have the drugs in those pastas too. As you said, you haven't had Pizza Hut in a while. No one seeks it out, but for some reason it shows up, and I just must inhale it at that point.
Oh, not the pizza. I get the pastas pretty regularly. I'm a big fan of a deal. If you could get 100 calories for 50 cents, that's pretty good. And I try to think about it like that.
You a fan of the stuffed crust?
Yes, extra cheese.
Right.
Definitely gets a thumbs up from me.
Extra cheese.
That's like 2 meals in one. You get the pizza, and then instead of a boring crust, you get hit with some cheese sticks. Can't go wrong.
I always strategically eat my pizza from both ends, so I don't have what some people call the pizza bone, the crust left over. And yeah, the cheese stick crust, don't need to do that shit anymore.
Certainly. No, you eat it like a funnel. Too cheesy. Or extra cheese. Anyway, I messed that up. Can I get that stinger?
Absolutely. Duke Phillips, what did you think of that joke?
Where's the joke? Sir, we're on the air. I know we're on the air, but where's the joke?
I could make that a little shorter by taking out Jay Sherman's laugh, but something about his laugh I enjoy.
Right. Well, no, it is a little confusing if somebody doesn't know the reference.
I almost picked Bob Euchre for just a bit
Euchre.
outside.
Euchre
of,
is huge in this area. People talk about Euchre and Dubuque and Cedar Rapids and this Eastern Iowa region. People love Euchre around here.
Yeah, Euchre had some great lines in Major League. For the initial "that joke stinks," I was thinking of his "just a bit outside" line from Major League.
Right. Major League.
The movie.
Okay.
What was Charlie Sheen's name in that?
Oh, is this where he assaulted Corey Feldman? Is that the movie? Major
no
League.
Feldman in Major League.
I see.
There was a baseball team, the Indians. I'm not going to be able to pull that character name.
Go Indians. That was the high school that I went to in Manhattan. There was the Indians.
Major League 2, they
Shout
filmed
out.
at Camden Yards in Baltimore, but nowhere near as good of a movie.
Right.
They call him like Hot Thing, wasn't it? Something like that. Charlie Sheen's character.
Wild Thing.
Wild
That's
Thing,
what it
that's
was.
what
He
it is,
came.
yeah.
He came out to Wild Thing,
There it is. Yep.
and he had to have those very ugly glasses on. Otherwise, he was going to take someone's head off.
Mm-hmm. That was a good movie. We talk about dead naming sports teams, though. The Indians are now the Guardians, but I don't know. Do you think they'll go back and remake those movies then? Called the Guardians?
It is about time that they remade that movie. The
Right.
problem with all the with a lot of current remakes is they remake really good movies. You need to remake like a subpar or a shitty movie, honestly, where they didn't quite put the pieces together. Maybe you can in this remake. You're right. We probably do have a Major League remake coming with the Guardians, and we absolutely don't need it because the first Major League, great. Even the
Those are the
sequels.
best movies.
Well, it's tough to think of a bad movie. Then I've tried to think of what bad movie would they remake? Well, I forgot all the bad movies.
I think the worse the movie, the more times you watch it sometimes.
They should remake Jack and Jill.
I'm sure they'll get on that in about 10 years. Someone, Adam Sandler, I do have to applaud him for getting paid for his vacations.
Right.
Grown Ups 2, that one where he's in Hawaii with Drew Barrymore.
It all kind
I
of
would like
strikes
to
me.
go to Hawaii, but not pay for it and get paid for it.
But you need a friend like that. It all strikes me as a bit of a money laundering to all his friends. He says, "Hey, we're gonna do a project. It's barely gonna break even, but I'm gonna get all my close friends $20 million."
One man's money laundering is another man's major motion picture.
Right. Well, it's often art, I guess. It kind of makes sense.
There was a podcast called the worst podcast ever, or something like that, and it was just they watched Grown Ups 2 every single day for a year, or something like that, and just
Oh.
talked about it. So maybe they could remake Grown Ups 2. That'd be a good movie to remake. You'd have to redo the podcast though too.
Yeah, I'd like that. Oh, Norbit. I want them to remake Norbit, but with different people playing they should remake all the movies where one character plays all the roles and just make them line by line, but the characters are played by different roles. Or roles are played by different characters.
Meet Dave. That was another one where Eddie Murphy played an entire race of aliens.
Wow. When are they going to remake Coneheads?
Coneheads, I hope they leave that alone because it was Dan Aykroyd and Jane Curtin. They got rid of the Lorraine Newman. It was no longer the teenager. They actually got a teenager to play her in the 90s. Actually, now that I talk about it, I do see a grandfather Beldar, Dan Aykroyd.
Right.
In a Coneheads reboot. As I'm talking about, they don't need to do that. I'm like, they're gonna.
Well, they could do it. I'd really like to see, instead of the claymation monster, they make it CGI. That would look good.
Now you got your Hollywood cap on. You are ready for that meeting with those Hollywood heads.
Or Sirius XM, anybody who's willing to hire.
Yes. Sirius XM, do you need 2 new radio shows? One with a David, one with a Dylan?
Oh, they don't have enough D's. Actually, I think that's the problem. They say there are too many D's on this station.
Son of a bitch. And Sirius, it always seems like they throw money at celebrities. That's what it's been since I was familiar with them in 2005.
Right.
Oprah, here's many millions of dollars. Well, she's not a radio broadcaster, and they let people
Oh, you can stop. You can stop before Castor.
Sirius let Joe Rogan and a lot of the other people slip right through their fingers to let Eminem have his rap station. Eminem has never showed up, but we got Shade 45 here on Sirius.
My mother listens to their music. She likes the Beatles channel.
Oh, that's they do like the limited time engagements of last time there was a Bruce Springsteen channel. I think they had an Elton John channel.
Right, an Elvis channel, famously.
And like one guy doing the voices of all the Decades channels. I'm Spider Alamar, whatever his name was. He had a different name on each channel and put on a different variation of his voice.
Oh, that's great. I wish I did. Actually, yesterday we had a bit of a little behind the scenes look here. Not a lot of people are going to notice this after we put the episode together, but we had a bit of an issue. So instead of a Dan McCullough doing a Casey Kasem impression for our guest yesterday, I did a great Casey Kasem impression, and I think I might just clip that and put it on the Patreon or something so that other people can see that Casey Kasem impression. And it'd be funny. It'd be a little behind the scenes, but who would have guessed? I really think I nailed it. He didn't get it right, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought I was here with him. Then I remember he was dead. So.
Right. But doing a fun radio voice is definitely something else. I was going to ask you, do you take questions from the chat during this show?
I usually don't pay attention to the chat so I can focus on my guest. But I do have to get out of here somewhat soon. In about
we have a
10
hard
minutes.
out at 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. where you especially have to get out of here Eastern.
Okay, we both got the 1 p.m. Eastern hard out. So now that you mention it, it is a good time to throw it to the chat. If you folks have
Well,
any
people have said
questions.
we have a lot of great chemistry, Dylan. I think we'd run a show well together.
Nice. Maybe one day we will make a super show together.
We can do
The
that
Morning
show.
D.
Maybe you could just join us maybe we'll do that live stream. I don't know. You have to figure out how to play it through the StreamYard. But we're going to do a few hour live stream one of these days where we just watch all the episodes of David Collin 30-minute half-hour reality show and kind of maybe give some commentary or whatever, and just a live stream so people who haven't clicked it maybe have an excuse to pop in and pop out.
That's a fun concept. Reacting to yourself.
Well, it's a fun show to watch. We don't have I like watching that show, David Collin's 30-minute half-hour reality show, and I think more people would like to watch it too.
And check that out, David Collins' 30-minute. I almost said 30-minute half-hour, 30-minute reality show. Sticking to the brand there. I enjoy the brand awareness of the 30-minute.
Right. Well, it rhymes with my mother's name. Not that I want to dock her. Dox her.
You shouldn't be able to dock with your mother, and you shouldn't dock with your father.
Well, these days, you want to be careful what you say, too.
So, thanks for joining me here, David. I'll give that Patreon a plug one more time, where he has got hundreds of videos, outtakes, and shitting on Austin 2-minute segment, I bet would help
Brian
blow
King,
up.
if that's especially what you want to find, it's Dr. Brian King, but it's just a 2-minute video. It's in the collections.
And I will be having a bonus episode myself. You can become a rope shooter for $4.99 a month. And I recently had a watch along with a public domain movie that YouTube took down for broadcasting third party. I think YouTube forgot how public domain works.
Yeah, it's terrible. That's very frustrating, but I think they just do things too. Oh, hello, Sam. How do you think you would fare in a wrestling type scenario where your enemy had the element of surprise and why? Well, I'm pretty lengthy, so I do have kind of an advantage. I'm 6'3", so, and I actually have pretty terrific balance. Not a lot of people know this about me. I have pretty phenomenal balance. I don't really like to brag about it a lot, but if I see a train track, I'll be jumping back and forth on the sides there, no matter how slick they are. I have a lot of fun with my balance. So if somebody tries to sneak up on me, I have a pretty good center of gravity.
You're being too humble too. He's very vigilant. It's one thing I noticed about him. He's very vigilant. He's always waiting for somebody to surprise him.
That's true too. And I don't like being touched, so I do have a bit of a spidey sense. But I don't know if I'd fare very well as long as if I was in a wrestling scenario and I was really scared. Like I said, I have a knife, and I would never want to hurt anybody. But I'm scared of getting hurt myself, so I do carry that. I don't know how I'd open it though. Opening a knife that's not a practice. I could practice opening it, but I'd never say, "Hey, would you try to put me in a chokehold?" And I'll practice opening the knife. So I do have no experience with that.
I believe I might be a bit too clumsy for fighting. I am kind of like elegantly clumsy, where I can drop something and pick it up, grab it with the same hand before it hits the ground, or trip and fall over nothing. Trip, almost fall, but recover over nothing. So
Right.
If that wrestling match is against me, I would be the element of surprise is all I've got. After that, lanky David Collins is got the advantage.
And I might be the strongest I've ever been right now. Because I was preparing for the Stein holding contest in October. I do that. I try to do that. I find wherever I'm at located, I try to find an Oktoberfest where I can participate in the Stein holding competition. But this year, I think I've gotten really strong, and I've kind of maintained it since the beginning of October there. And I'm feeling pretty good these days. So I'm not really sure how anybody would fare, where I stand at any of that. I haven't been in an altercation since I had a fight club in high school, which I started, and we did some great rounds, and it really grew, and it was a lot of fun. But I think we've talked about that before.
Been a while since those days.
Right.
A Stein holding. So you're just holding a full Stein.
It's about 5 or 6 pounds.
And the last one whose arm is standing gets the prize.
Right. It's an endurance contest between men. And then there's a women's division, too. Friend of the show, the owner of Cosmic Oasis, actually, Allison Vanderpool, that was featured when they allowed us to record an episode at Cosmic Oasis and interview customers and the staff and things, which is an interesting place to do an episode. But she participated in the women's division and came in second. Isn't that interesting? I think she just had a baby recently, so that probably gives people an advantage.
Nice.
Ridden a penny farthing.
Yes,
Could somebody
Star
assist? What is a
Chunksta.
penny farthing?
Star Chunksta wants to know about the old-timey bikes. The penny farthing has the huge wheel in the front and the smaller wheel in the back.
No, I would very much like to. That's interesting. I have in the past, probably 10 years ago. I'm sure it would take a lot of getting back used to, but I used to ride a unicycle.
Have you seen the motorized unicycles?
No, that sounds interesting. Does it balance itself? Have a big gyroscope.
I have not gotten on one of them myself. I have seen someone riding down the road in the bike lane on a motorized unicycle. So they do exist. And I do see you. The way that Star Chunksta sees you on a penny farthing, I see you on a motorized unicycle.
That would terrify me because the way a unicycle works, the pedals kind of have to move at the same rate as the wheel. So a mechanical one, or unless it has some sort of chain mechanism that lets it not lock in if the wheel's moving too quick, I don't understand how that would work.
We'd have to do further research. They're available for purchase somewhere. I've seen hipsters with them, so they exist and it can be done.
If somebody sneaks up on me and they know about the knife, then they're just grabbing my exposed knife. And it's really just for practical. I hate to act like I have a knife for self-defense. It comes in handy in the winter if I need to cut something. But, if that were to happen, then I'm just being attacked by somebody that knows everything about me.
And if they know everything about you, oh boy, they've got an advantage in your house, at your work. They know too much.
I also weigh about 157 pounds. And I weigh myself very regularly, and I'm very sturdy on that 157, 159. So I don't weigh that much for my height.
Yeah, I'm I don't know how much I weigh. I do it by pant size. That's what I learned in Hollywood is I need to be a 34 waist size. It really doesn't matter if I am 200 or 175 as long as I'm 34 or 32.
All these questions, Sam. This is why I have Matt Ferry with me. Matt Ferry was before we've had, he's been a co-host and he's doing a great job here and he's been part of these episodes and he's doing the Drive Time David Collins, of course, but he was doing a lot of the filming behind the scenes, behind the cameraman. So when we would go out and do those street interviews or anything like that, we had Matt Ferry and he's a big guy. He has this scary tattoo on his leg and he's a former veteran and firefighter. So I don't really have to worry about any of these things because I often have Matt Ferry here.
That is a multi-useful co-host. for someone that can beat someone's ass for you.
Well, he's
nicely done,
a
Matt.
scary figure. I'm not really sure. Do you fight?
No, I don't. Not a big fighter.
Okay,
Who
you're just the
knows?
intimidation factor.
He could be a
what
trained
I'm waiting
weapon.
on,
We
yeah.
to keep things. You never know. He's humble too.
I think DC could hold his own in a fight, though.
I can juggle.
You could distract with your juggling.
Right.
And we are getting to your hard out time, and I do have to go to work on Tuesdays. Thank you for joining me, David.
Thank you.
Tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. Eastern, Drive Time with David Collins and Matt. And who'd you say your guest is this week? The
Todd
third night?
Basinger, local Dubuque. He's very well known. He's very funny. He's going to be headlining at the Jester's Lounge this December, but the Jester's Lounge is now closed, unfortunately. But he's a great comedian. He's going to be here third night. Todd Basinger,
Otherwise known as the Todd Father.
the Todd
Dubuque
Father.
comedy.
He's on Instagram, suspicious white male.
Fun name. Thanks for joining today. Any further plugs before we hit the outro?
Oh, not at all. I'm sure people will find us or see us in the future too. Thanks so much for having me, Dylan, and having Matt Ferry also. We wanted to come on today, and you've really accommodated us, so we appreciate it. And it was nice speaking with you. I just like spending some more time with you, Dylan.
Absolutely. Thanks for reaching out. I enjoyed chatting with you too, and enjoy calling in. And I enjoyed this longer form because I'm just in and out for the Drive Time with David Collins for a quick segment. So thanks for chilling for an interview.
You're welcome.
And thank all you folks for joining in the chat. We'll be back tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, for the first episode of the book review of A Movie Making Nerd by James Rolfe. TikTok, I think, on Thursday. I'll do something on Thursday, either a TikTok around the clock or a co-host audition. I can't ramble too much, or else I will be rude to my guests who do have a heart out. Thank you once again, David Collins. Thank you, audience members. Now feel free to go away.
Well, it looks like that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for going on this adventure with me. It's fun being with friends. I'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye for now.
Toodaloo. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen. Ciao. Ding dao day.
Places all. All join hands, circle left. Now circle right and listen to me. LS, MFT. Elementary corners like swinging on a gate. To right, dear honey, with the right left date. Grand right and left around you go. Lucky strike means fine tobacco. Meet your honey and give her a whirl. All swing around with the little girl. Smoke 'em, then you'll see. LS, MFT. Promenade and don't you fall. Promenade around the hall. Lucky strike is first again with tobacco men. Promenade straight down the pike. It's time right now for a lucky strike. Yes, for smoking that you're bound to like, you just can't beat a lucky strike.